What's going on, guys? Magnolia Mo here, and welcome back to my channel. So I found myself not enjoying movies. I found myself focusing on the height speakers, focusing on which height speaker was working, which wasn't working, how much bass there was in a scene, what the HDR effects was, and somehow along the way, over the last year or so, I just was so heavily focused on the heights, whether it's 6 height speakers, 4 height speakers. So I just lost the sheer enjoyment that I used to get when I would watch a movie, when I would put on a movie and then get into the movie, right? I used to focus on the soundtrack of the movie, the photography, the cinematography, the long shots, meaning, shots that go without a cut, for instance, extended shots. From all of that, it went to, was there any HDR in that scene? Or were the height speakers working in that scene? Why weren't they working in that scene? Just stressing over weird stuff, right? Which just took away from the overall enjoyment. If you've been following my channel, I've been using a Denon X3800 and a Pioneer Elite LX505. I kind of switched between the two. I've actually sold them, right? So now I'm looking for a processor, and in between processors, I decided to hook up my old Pioneer Elite VSX52, which is a THX Select 2 receiver. I believe it's 120 watts per channel, but it's a 7-channel. It's actually a 9-channel receiver with the front heights, right? But not the true sense of front heights. It cannot do Dolby Atmos or DTS:X. It's just the height effects, essentially, present speakers, right? So I hooked that up. I had to my Martin Logan Montage front speakers. I went on eBay and I bought a Martin Logan Fresco LCRS. They used to be the LCRS speakers. Basically, you could use the same speaker all around you. So I bought the Fresco as the center channel, and I was really surprised on how well it actually matches the Montage from a center and front perspective. Then I have had these Martin Logan Motion 4s, not the 4Is, the 4s. They were prior to the 4Is. The grill stays on them, doesn't come off. So I hooked those up as my surround speakers, and that's it. Just the 5 bed layer speakers, and then I have on loan from Martin Logan the Dynamo Foundation 12 and 10. So I've been using those as the subwoofers instead of my SVS SB16 Ultra and the SB3000. So I just wanted to go full on Martin Logan in a old school setup using that Pioneer Elite, which is a Dolby True HD DTS HD master audio capable receiver. And believe it or not, right, that woke my brain up, essentially. That took me out of the rut that I was stuck in, where I just had forgotten how to enjoy movies because I had nothing to focus on from a height speaker perspective and from a bass perspective. So I ran the MCACC Pro on the Pioneer Elite and got everything hooked up, everything set up. And I was actually, like I said, I was surprised at the sound and the synergy that I got from these Martin Logan speakers. So I sat down and I watched Gravity. That scene where Clooney is floating around in space, when the tether breaks and he's talking to Sandra Bullock, he's actually the object that's moving around you, right? That scene, I was very surprised in how good and well balanced, those 5 speakers were when he moved from side to side, front to back, right? Very, very good tonal match across all those 5 speakers. But then the most surprising part was I actually kind of heard his voice float up there too, depending on, because I used to remember there's some parts where you can distinctly hear him on the right side top, on your front height, right, and then he goes to the top middle and then behind you. That effect for some reason was still there. It wasn't as high, but it wasn't at the level of the bass speakers, but it was still really good. So I said, wow, this is like a liberating experience. So I decided to buy on streaming Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another. And I watched that, and I'm telling you, I was focused on the screen. I was focused on the photography. So there is a scene towards the end of the movie. It's a car chase, and it literally felt like a roller coaster as I'm watching. I was so into this movie. It's a great movie, by the way. I recommend, if you haven't bought it, if you haven't seen it, I recommend that you actually give it a try. But that scene, had me engulfed, essentially. I was not focused on anything else that was going on except for the screen. The facial expressions, the skin tones, the photography, right, of that entire scene. It was amazing. And then obviously, throughout the movie, it is literally one battle after another. That movie put the focus, on the screen for me, and because I wasn't worried about what was happening above me. So, it was a great experience with just 5 speakers and 2 subs and an old ass receiver. So then, over the last 3 days, I started with the Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. Then the next day, I switched to Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. Right? This is a DVD. This is not even a Blu-ray. And then the last one is At World's End. I can't tell you how amazing of a time I have had watching these 3 movies, with Hans Zimmer's score, with the comedy with the dialogue delivery throughout the movies, all 3 of these movies, the stunts, and obviously there are some parts with decent amount of bass. In the first one, The Curse of the Black Pearl, when Keira Knightley falls in the sea, in the water, there is a bass sweep that happens. That bass sweep caught my attention with these 2 speakers, with these 2 subwoofers. And then just the action sequences, the surrounds were very active. I could not localize where the sound was coming from. It was that good of a synergy. And then Dead Man's Chest, same thing. It was the scene with the Kraken, the bass that happens when the Kraken is on the screen. That was really good. But the point is, in At World's End, with Hans Zimmer's score, I mean, that's awesome, right? These 3 movies, and then one battle after another, they allowed me to focus on the movie. Allowed me to focus on the actual content, right? What the actors were going through when they made the movie, or the director, from an acting standpoint, from a directorial standpoint, from a production standpoint. I was lost. Trust me, I was lost. I was not enjoying myself. Every movie that I was watching, even though F1, I loved F1 in the movie theater, when I sat down and I watched it here on the Denon X3800 before I sold it, and that review is upcoming, by the way. Even in that movie, I started to focus on the height speaker usage. I don't know why. Instead of just focusing on the movie and just enjoying the movie. So my advice, to everyone out there, right, is let's just stop focusing on how much height speaker usage there is, how much the bass in a movie is. Yes, from a review standpoint, we could do that afterwards. But we can't get away from the fact that we have to watch these movies, right? These movies for what they're meant for, right? For sheer enjoyment, right? To take you away from your normal daily life, your routine, from 9 to 5 routine, or whatever it is that we are just so caught up in, right? So that's what I enjoyed about this hobby the most before, was the fact that I could just sit down in my theater, watch a movie, and be thrilled, be sad, be happy, depending on the type of movie, right? I posted a comment recently on Elon's on one of his shorts. He was asking a question on, when you're feeling down, or when you're feeling low, what type of movies do you watch, right? And I think that's when it hit me, right? My answer to that question was, I love Tropic Thunder, right? Because it's just a sheer comedy, right? And it's just how the movie is made. It's just a funny movie to me, and I forget about everything, right, when I'm watching that movie. But But I think that's when it started, right? And I was starting to wonder what's happening here, right? Where we're so focused on the sound design for whatever reason, right? Or the HDR effects and you know, is the movie 4K crisp? Like these movies, this one is full of grain, film grain. I don't even know if it's artificial film grain. I think it's just pure, sheer film grain in this movie. But I didn't care. I didn't care. I was enjoying the movie. That's my advice to you guys. Watch the movies for what they're worth. It's about sheer enjoyment. All right, guys? I hope you take something from this video. Leave me some feedback. You agree with with what I just said? You don't, or if you don't, it doesn't matter. Give me some feedback. Keep it civilized. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.